Reddit, what are your night shift horror stories?
I used to work night shift as a care aide in an old folks' home. It was already creepy. The home was an old hospital that was converted. Some asshole kept walking around the courtyard after dark dressed as the Grim Reaper knocking on doors. It was actually really scary. He ran off and the facility got a security guard for a few weeks.
This didn't become a horror story until recently, but as a teen, I used to close down the gas station/truck stop I worked at, alone. My boss used to pop up out of the shadows as I was closing down the till with the backup lights on. He'd be super calm and act like it wasn't creepy at 11 p.m. when he should be home with his family. He was even at my high school graduation, he and his wife's numbers still in my phone. Anyhow, he is currently on trial for murdering a prostitute via stabbing her to death, back in '94. Cold case potentially solved via DNA and modern science.
I worked in a residential treatment center for teen girls. One girl with some severe trauma came sleepwalking into the room screaming to please untie her while clawing at her wrists. She was begging me to help her because he's torturing me. I sat her down and pulled her bracelets and watch off. She went completely limp, then got up and went back to bed. It freaked me out seeing the raw emotion of her trauma since she was always smiling and relatively calm during the day.
Humber, Mage, Dorselessness.
Truckers and long-distance drivers of Reddit, what are some of your unexplained stories of the road?
I was the passenger for this, but on a long drive I accompanied my mom when we saw a man standing on the concrete divider at about 10 p.m. It was fall, so it was dark out and pouring rain. He was dressed as a jester, and it was on a stretch of poorly lit highway. She flinched and asked if I saw it. I said that I did, and we watched as he walked slowly along the divider with his arms out a little to the sides. She pulled over because she was freaking out so bad, and he started doing weird stuff, cartwheels and handstands and shit. Weirdest thing ever.
Just a couple of months ago, I worked a pretty late shift one night. Left the office around 2 a.m. and had a 30-minute drive home. I live pretty far out in the woodland areas of the country. Forest directly on both sides of the road. I was casually driving along through the fog, and out of nowhere a kid's rubber ball, the basketball-sized ones with cartoons on them, comes bouncing out in the middle of the road from the trees. I slammed on my brakes and swerved to miss because I thought for sure a kid was bound to be chasing behind it. Never seen a soul step out. As I drive on by and started thinking, what would a kid be doing out playing this late? Then I remembered, there were no houses around where this happened at. Someone had to have thrown it in the road. The height it came onto the road at and the way it bounced, the wind simply didn't blow it in front of me. It was pretty creepy.
I used to go to a school really far away from my hometown with my sister. Our mother drove us. Part of the route was through a wooded area. Whilst looking out the windows, we noticed what looked like people just standing by the trees, some actually in the trees. This happened every day for a good year or so, but every day they would be in different positions. They looked real, but we put it down to being mannequins or sort of scarecrows. One day they just weren't there anymore.